Okay, I'm going to call the January 6th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. Happy New Year to everybody. Okay, public forum. Do we have anybody who wishes to address the public other than what's on? Okay, so Gary McElhenney is here to talk about our facilities, the task force update. So I'd like a motion to move that up to now, please. If somebody could please make a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to move item 9B, Facilities Task Force Update with Gary McElhenney up to now, please.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Gary, you're up. You could probably just stand near the microphone, sit near the microphone.
You want me to stand?
You can sit.
Can I sit next to you?
Yes, you can sit here. Yes, absolutely.
You gotta sing. You
Absolutely.
don't have mic, you have to sing.
It's not big enough. It's not tall enough, you know?
All those years on Board of
Absolutely. Have a
Selectmen,
seat.
You gotta be at the table, right?
Yeah, but usually I sit in the corner. Good evening. We're trying to let people know, let me back up. I'm chairman of the,
You tell me like what you do, who you are, and all that kind of
okay,
stuff.
I'm chairman of the Guilford Facilities Task Force, which was started about a year ago. And we thought, since we're coming up on, we've made some preliminary recommendations, which don't have a lot to do with Park and Rec at this point, but we're coming up to sort of a summary position, talking to the selectmen and seeing whether they want us to go further on some issues or stop on some issues. And I thought it was time to just sort of stop in and let Park and Rec know what we're seeing, which is relevant to what you guys are doing, and maybe get some input. The first thing I'll say, and I know a couple of you were at our public presentation. We have a pretty good group that was put together. It includes 2 former elected people, represents about 20 or 25 different commissions, service on 20 or 25 different commissions, and about 20 related town committees. So we have a group of people who are fairly familiar with various aspects of the town, and that's been very helpful in putting it together. Secondly, we have no authority to do anything other than make recommendations. We do have a small allocation of money from the Board of Finance, which we have not utilized to date, although I'll mention we are in the process of utilizing a little bit of it for a study. But the anything that we recommend goes through the normal process of Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, funding, et cetera. So as much as we may have grand ideas or not so grand ideas, we are an organization created to recommend. We started with a survey of all town department heads, and I've got to tell you, the town's department heads are impressive. They have been very cooperative. They have been very informative. Many provided extremely detailed responses to our questions. We absorbed those and then called them in and interviewed them and asked further questions. Some gave us more information than we thought was possible. Rick brought Tony in. Those guys had a great presentation. You can be proud of the staff that works for Park and Rec. They did a great job in presenting to us. We don't have any money, so we can't, but that will clearly, the value of town employees to our process has been extremely high. With regards to Park and Rec, the biggest issue that came up, other than parking here, has been the facilities down at Driveway. And it's very clear, we toured the facility. Interestingly, I called Rick and we got a bus, and the first thing that the commission did was tour all town facilities with the town facilities manager. We went on a bus trip around town, took a couple of hours. If relevant, we walked the facility and got back in the bus and went somewhere else. When we told the selectmen that, they said, how come we can't do that? So we had to do it again. We didn't need the bus. We got your van. We did it in a van, and I took the selectmen on, and it's amazing. You know, a number of the selectmen hadn't seen all the facilities, and there were a lot of facilities. One of the things that occurred to us is that we have a number of small facilities, which are very inefficient. So the facilities group has to, you know, just for example, they have, on a snowstorm, they have to run here, they have to run there, they have to go there to do stuff, and that your people are some of those people that are doing that. So the consolidation of some of the smaller facilities would be advantageous, but principally the facilities down at Driveway are not adequate for either Park and Rec or Public Works.
Right.
So it's very clear that one of our recommendations is going to be to attempt to relocate Public Works, Park and Rec, and the Facilities Department, which you think you're scattered, they're everywhere. So to put them all together, they have commonality. Obviously, you really can't split Park and Rec and Public Works because they do the work on your mechanical stuff, so they need to be together. And we looked at, you know, some ideas of separating them, but that really is less efficient. So we are in the process and I may actually having a meeting tomorrow to finalize an RFP to design or to set the specifications for a new Park and Rec, Public Works, Facilities Department, so that we know what we actually need. So I mean, it's tempting to go out and say, well, let's buy this piece of land. Well, what if it's not big enough? What if it's not the right size? But the goal, and I don't think this is a secret because it's been around for a long time, that facility is in a floodplain. It's hemmed in by the railroad tracks and other properties, and it's at the farthest corner of the town. So that the ideal situation would be to have a facility somewhere midtown with access to Route 177, Long Hill, et cetera, Route 80.
Route 80.
So that, you know, if you're going to plow West Street, you aren't traveling 18 miles to get it done. So I think that's going to be a long process to design it, to fund it, to find the right site and fund it. But I think that's our job, is to make that recommendation and put it on a couple of the town departments, primarily the engineering department and the Board of Selectmen, to follow through on that. We have recommended, we have told the selectmen that we really don't want to be a building committee like the high school building committee was. A couple of our people were on the high school building committee, and they definitely don't want another process. But we suggested that they put together a facility building committee to work with engineering and the departments and do that. You obviously, as well as Public Works, and you'll know about the RFP when it gets done. It's going to take a while to put out and get bids back and so on, but you will obviously be part of that. You'll get re-interviewed again on what your needs are, so don't lose Tony's sketch.
Tony, I'm sure, has it. He knows I lose.
Tony wants this desperately.
Yeah.
But
As we all.
I will tell you that there are some interim solutions that we're dealing with, and which may help you. And since we're on camera and all those discussions have been in executive session with the Board of Selectmen, I'm not going to elaborate on it, but it's clear that it's going to take some time to do this. So we have identified some interim solutions which will help both your issues and Public Works issues.
Great.
The other issue, which I'm sure on everybody's, and I heard it at the Board of Selectmen in executive session this morning, what are we going to do with 52 Church? Again, we have made a recommendation that that building be torn down. Initially, it was believed that it could be used for one or more small town departments, but it's in deplorable condition. It's amazingly poor condition. And so the cost to rehab it would exceed the cost of building another building, so that issue has been dispensed with. It happens to be in a historic district. Again, I will say we went to the historic district as a courtesy and was lectured about streetscapes. So there are some issues there. The first selectman is primarily dealing with the Historic District Commission. And it's clear that what happens there will need to pay some attention to the streetscape and get the approval of the Historic District Commission. I think virtually everybody understands the need for parking. In fact, the meeting that the town, the public hearing on the acquisition of that property, both the first selectman and I parked on the far side of the green in order to make the meeting. So that seems to be generally understood. I personally, and I have no money. I wish we could combine a couple of the smaller departments into a new building, which maybe has a similar facade to this building at the front of the property with parking on the back. The problem is that adds to the parking problem, and it reduces the amount of parking that you can get on the site. So everything in this town is complicated. I found out where septic systems are, which I wish I didn't know. I found out where town dumps are, which I wish I didn't know. There's a water flow problem. There's actually water that flows through that property and out into the West River, which is presenting a problem for the condominiums down there and may have to be dealt with. I wouldn't call that a facilities problem. That's an engineering problem, but it affects the decisions that are made on that property. Fortunately, one of the members of our commission is a world-class landscape architect, and she identified that sort of in the first 12 seconds of looking at it, because there are water flow problems, septic problems, et cetera. So nothing is easy in this town. We have buildings whose septic systems literally are in the parking lots of the properties next door, with knowledge, not illegally, but with knowledge. So it makes it difficult to make decisions. That said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if anybody has a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Here, if I could just, and all the board members know my thoughts on this, but, and I got to put my 2 cents in there. As far as the piece of property next door, and I've expressed to everybody here, and I'll express it to you. To put a parking lot there to me, is a damn shame. I mean, you spend $450,000 for parking, and as we all know, no matter how much parking you put there, it's not going to be enough. And we should think of alternative ways of doing things instead of putting a parking lot there. I mean, to me, it's crazy. It's a beautiful piece of property. Put a park there. Not a parking lot, please. I mean, people are going to have to, like I said, people have to sacrifice. They're going to have to. You had a park over the. Well, you had a park over there. That's we got to worry about future generations. It's an inconvenience. You had to walk 2 blocks. Didn't kill you. Do you know what I mean?
I've heard that. I understand that. The comment. The one other thing that is fairly obvious in looking at a lot of our facilities is they were all constructed when the population was somewhere near half of what we now have, and that's why there's a parking problem here. In my opinion, there's a parking problem in the library. There's a parking problem at Town Hall.
And the green.
I tell you, I get it. There's a parking problem, but more parking spaces is not the answer for future generations. We got to cut it off at some point where we say enough's enough. People are going to have to walk 2 blocks. People are going to have to carpool. Put a parking lot there, please.
What about
Okay.
the seniors and people that can't get around?
Handicap
Stay
parking,
home.
carpooling,
There's not enough handicap
but
parking.
you know what I'm saying, I'm just like, it's never enough parking. We're just gonna have to start making sacrifices now for future generations. Just can't keep more parking, more parking, more parking. It's gonna be endless.
Okay,
I just want to.
Noted.
All
Noted.
right.
The one other thing that I should add is not specifically a facilities recommendation, but I believe we're going to make a recommendation that there be some sort of a town-wide room sign-up facility. I mean, you guys bear the brunt of usage, but there are rooms in the library, there are rooms at
Police station.
fire station, and if there were a sort of a central clearinghouse could be created,
That's what I'm talking about.
that might,
Kind of things I'm talking about.
that might solve some issues. Again, I'm not the guy to design that, but I'm
Right.
sure somebody has a piece of software that could be implemented townwide that could give people access so that they could, so we could distribute the meetings better. Yes,
If
sir.
52 Church was torn down and decision was made to use it for parking, what, have you had an overlay as to how many parking spaces would be made available for them? Just an estimate, not.
Yes, but I think, I would, don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but it was somewhere high 40s to 50.
Okay.
Again, it'd probably be accessed through here. I mean, in an ideal world, the Frontier building comes down, or at least we get a right-of-way and get to run through there and out and have another access. But I know inquiries have been made by people who are connected to Frontier and have been rejected, but I'm dumb enough to send them a letter to put in their in their real estate file, so that 10
Never
years from
know.
now, somebody may pick it up and say, oh gee, we don't need this anymore, let's talk to the town of Guilford. But, because that would facilitate traffic flow, and part of the issue would be traffic flow. I mean, you get a lot more cars.
How about bike racks? Put bike racks there.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage people.
Gary, with the building, one of the things I'd heard is that there was a possibility of salvaging maybe part of it just even for storage, or redoing something, even if it's not a office building, for offices, but some kind of storage.
We have better options for storage. And again, storage, it would only benefit you for storage. It would not necessarily benefit, all the other departments. Everybody has a storage problem, by the way, every
Yes.
town department. In some cases, paper storage, and actually, we went to the selectmen, and they have instituted a committee to study paper storage. I mean, some departments do a terrific job. The boxes are taped, labeled. My department can be destroyed January 2024. Others are just piled there. You don't know what department it is, you don't know what's in it,
Yeah.
you don't know what the timing is. So fortunately, one of the selectmen happens to be a member of the State Library Committee. So she's heading up the committee to
Should do a good job.
to establish a policy. But, some departments have physical storage. They're storing stuff in wet basements. I will tell you that I believe it's likely in some time frame. I know you don't like this, but the Boston Street property will be repurposed and marketed.
Hopefully after we have the new building though, right?
Because that's where our storage is,
I
basically.
know, we understand that. We do, I do understand that, but
Where's the storage on Boston Street?
the old Park and Rec building, right on
Public Works, the old garage.
the old garage.
And we have gone through this building, and we're, make sure these closets are being fully
Yeah,
utilized to
yeah.
the best of their ability.
No,
But you also have to purge. You can't.
We
you can't
do,
hang on
we're
to everything
really
all-
working on
right.
that.
Yep.
as I said, it's impressive how much town staff has done with the facilities that we have given, we as taxpayers have given them to date. So most departments have done a great job of figuring out what to do with their paper, figuring out what to do with their materials, et cetera.
Okay, any other questions?
Anything else?
How do you like the idea, though, that you said, like Lawrence was saying, of other facilities being used more often, that people just think they can only, meetings can only happen here?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a central clearinghouse, then you're correct. There's a lot more parking at the police station and the fire station in the evening. You know, the problem to a degree is those aren't generally available during the day.
Right.
And there's a lot of there are parking issues during the day, as does the library. I mean, you know.
I think that's our biggest issue, is evening, we generally don't, our rooms are booked, but generally the parking isn't.
Right.
It's during the day that you can't get
Here,
into this building.
excuse me, how about the St. George's Church? Does the town rent that? I mean, does the town rent it? Can they rent it?
They
St.
let us,
George's parking?
they actually let us use it a lot of times, when we're having trips. We will send the bus over and they'll let people park the car there for the day.
Yeah, but I'm
So they're
talking-
very gracious about
I'm talking
that.
like a formal agreement.
There is a formal, okay, one of the problems is that the retailers and their customers don't have enough parking. So there is a formal agreement in place so that employees of downtown businesses now, I believe it started, I don't know what the timing is, but
And the lines in the back of St.
yeah,
George's.
they are now parking in the St. George's parking lot, because I know the town approved the creation of a walkway over there, and so employees now of the downtown businesses are supposed to be parking there so that
That
customers.
helps.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like,
I-
agree with the town, so residents, instead of putting a parking lot here, you know, get it out to the town that everybody can use, because that's just sitting there, a huge parking lot. It's not being used, and people park over there, and unfortunately, you gotta walk 2 blocks, and you're gonna have to get used to it.
Maybe a little more than 2 blocks, because it'd be the
Well,
back of the
3 blocks.
parking lot. Yeah, I understand the issue.
Yeah.
Do we start trying to
Okay.
shuttle, you know, with buses here to try to do a pickup at certain I don't know, it's hard.
It's
to make
hard,
it
we
all
have
work
a
with
limited
different-
number of buses, they're
Yeah.
taking people
And how
back and
much time
forth, we
things
don't have
are.
enough to send them back and forth.
Yeah.
It would take a lot of,
You would need evening buses.
you'd need a lot
Yeah.
to do that.
Um,
If I'm not mistaken, I think that probably was purchased with the idea that we needed parking. That's what the main emphasis for purchasing. in the
That is
first
what it
place.
was presented,
Yeah,
as I should know, because I presented it.
yeah.
In my other hat is on Land Acquisition Commission. But yes, we presented it as primarily for parking, although we did talk about the utilization
Different of the building, right,
of a
yeah.
building, and then by the time we got engineers in there,
I mean, people live in New York City, they
Hmm?
walk 3, 4, 5, they walk all day.
understood.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else?
No, we appreciate it, thanks a
Okay.
lot.
We do have public forum every meeting. Anyone wants to come? Nope.
That's a good question. When are your meetings?
With the exception of this Thursday, they're generally first and third Thursday,
At where and what
8
time?
o'clock at Town Hall,
8 a.m. or
8 a.m.
That's another subject.
Write them a letter.
I mean, we have
I
had
don't know
one
what to
public
say.
meeting downstairs. I'm sure we'll have at least one more, maybe 2 more, as we go along.
I think you might find that you might get more town participation. I mean, every commission has their meetings in the evening except for Board of Selectmen and now you folks.
There's a couple of other commissions.
Well, you know, I would say the vast majority is evening time so that we can have the town residents come and visit us.
Late afternoon and evening.
I just think it would be, well, okay, that's another story.
You have to retire.
I will make 2 comments.
Go for it.
One is, by doing it in the daytime, we almost always have town employees. So it would create another situation where town employees would have to come in at night, and we weren't able to find a secretary that was willing to come in at night.
Thank you, Gary.
That sounds like a solicitation.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
Thank you. So also, we now have,
Can I say one more?
Sure.
It's been fascinating. It really has.
Oh,
been
I'm sure it has
fascinating. So, you know, the town's created, you know, as the town has been created without sewers, in some places without water.
That's
And,
right.
it's a big jigsaw puzzle that is hard to take apart and put back together.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. So we also have a presentation on our splash pad. So can we get
I'll make a motion.
to move up 7E?
I'll make a motion to move up 7E.
Second? All in favor? All right, splash pad, we're up.
So, for introduction,
Yes,
this
please
is Tom
do.
Tavella and Phil from Schmidt Design Group. They were the group that was
Nice to meet you guys.
contracted to do the design work. They've been meeting with Mandy and Claire and Veronica in the subcommittee for a couple months, I think, now, anyway.
Back here, rather than
Oh.
Yes.
Come back here?
Yes.
And so, this is their most recent, hopefully final design plan. The idea was to get the final design and then be able to go to publicly start going to people and say, this is what it's gonna look like. And so, they're here to tell you a little bit about it. They've done a great job, by the way.
Last year that worked for him. They've been working for them.
You gonna be able to pick us up off the
It's the
mic?
Schmidt Design Group. I'll get this.
Should move the microphone a little bit closer.
Well, thank you for having us today. I'm Tom Tavella. I'm principal at Schmidt Design Group. We're based out of Milford, Connecticut and San Diego. That's our main office is in San Diego. I grew up in Milford, Connecticut. I'm a lifelong resident, so you're not getting some transplant doing stuff in your town. Phil has been working with me for a number of years now, and we're having a lot of fun with doing these types of designs, working with your committee, and coming up with different options. So what I first want to start off with is just kind of orientation. Here's Jacob's parking lot down here. Here's the playground, the pavilions, so you're oriented. We originally looked at 2 locations for the splash pad. One up in the lawn area by the pavilions, then one out on the, kind of tucked up against the vegetation on the beach. We started off with test pits. We got down to 8 feet without any problems on the beach. We hit water on one of them, the other one we didn't. It was a little peaty, but it was still available to perk and stuff. The test pits up here on the lawn area, so we dug down not even 2 feet, and we were in clay, so you can actually make clay bowls if you want for arts and crafts out there. So the decision was that's really not going to suit our purposes because you have no drainage out there. So we're going to have to gather all the water that we're using on the splash pad, put it through some infiltration basins, and then into an infiltration gallery to take care of the water. So this is our location that we felt was the best. We also looked at your existing parking back here. This looks like it's a structured parking. It's not. It's just going to be lined. But we were able to go from 17 existing spaces within this area to 62 additional if needed.
Wow.
So that's going to help you in a lot of ways. Like this area, you may not want to flag out until you're desperate. But down this way, you can get in a lot of spaces in. And it could be flexible space for you. When the splash pad first goes in, you'll get a rush of people, of course. Then they'll kind of smooth off. So this gives you that flexibility.
Tom, can I just interrupt? The
Sure.
reason he's talking about this isn't just to do with the splash pad, but when we set the specs out, we knew we needed more parking anyway. It's
Yeah,
not
we do.
part of the splash pad project per se, but we wanted to address, since we're going to have a professional on board to do this, what can we do for additional parking there? And we can bus them from there to the community center, Lawrence. But in this area that he's talking about up here, we sort of did it informally as overflow parking anyway last
I
year.
remember a couple times in the summer we've had.
So it's just kind of
Yeah.
structuring it a little bit, that's all.
Yeah, so it'll be painted lines, based on the analysis and talking with the committee, we fell onto this position down here. Here's the design for it. And the idea is really to tuck it up against this existing vegetation so it doesn't protrude out into your sand areas. The idea behind the whole drainage system on this is we have a drain here, but we have rain gardens on both sides. So the water will be sheeting across into what we're calling as tide pools. And then it'll go into the rain garden and seep into the ground and start cleaning. Any excess water that comes from there, the drain will pop into here as well. This one will go into here, and then we'll have an underground gallery under here for any excess water. Now, we don't know the exact size yet. We're working with manufacturers to kind of figure that out. We're thinking it's going to be 20 by 50 at the most. It might be less. But we think that the rain gardens themselves are going to do a lot of good in infiltration for you, because we're out there with the health department and the engineering department. We did perk tests, and instead of having the problem of not having enough perk, we have a lot of perk there. So we don't know if we're going to have to, I think the rain gardens will slow that water up, so that we're not going to have any issues with water coming out and into the sound too fast. We have different types of play equipment in here, but I did want to mention, we're trying to make this fun for the kids and adults. We're going to do animal prints throughout the area, so they can identify, oh, there's a herring, there's a coyote, there's a crab, there's fish, and really kind of play off of that whole idea of what's happening out there. This is an example of one of the rain gardens that we've done in Bridgeport. They're very lush. We try to pack in as much material as we can because Tony and Rick are not going to go out there and pull weeds. And they already warned us about that. But we're used to that.
And neither are we,
So we're used to that because we work on tons of public projects. The first year is usually the biggest pain. But once the plants are established, we're using all native plants, so you're not getting exotics out there or any invasives. We've got some benches around here. We have some boulders that people can sit on. We actually have some nature play equipment out here as well. On this side, we have a slight berm against the boulders to keep the sand from blowing across. We're thinking we might put a secondary one over here for any movement of sand going this way. So it's a pretty fun.
So when you say boulders,
Yep.
we're not talking like people get on and then can jump off them? kind of
No, they're more
boulders?
for sitting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I just worry about kids doing that, so.
kids
it-
may
yeah.
jump across them, but,
Mhm.
and
They're not
we also have
Yeah, okay.
a no splash zone that, it's about 5 feet that goes all the way around, so
Mhm.
parents can walk around and monitor their
Mhm.
kids and not get soaked
Nice.
themselves. Plus the spray heads, they kind of go on and off in different sequence, so you can stay out of the water if you want. Your feet might get wet, but the only area that the non-splash zone, you're not going to get splashed, but water will be leaching over that to make that tide
The
pool.
low tide.
Yeah. Some of the components. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Blocking you.
No, it's me.
We really want to stick with all, mostly ground features. So these are things that are flush to the concrete. We only have one little guy that's about 1.5 feet tall, the turtle for the little kids. All the rest are flush. So if you do have a major storm event, you can get in there with a backhoe, just scrape the concrete and get rid of it. Rick's guys may have to go out there with their brush every once in a while. The amount of pressure coming through these should clean out the nozzles. You may have to do some power washing once in a while, but we don't see that as a big effort. The major components of maintenance are turning it on and turning it off. And after that, it's just checking on the rain gardens every once in a while for invasive weeds coming in or out.
So you said there would be a berm so that the sand, you don't end up with a whole bunch of sand on it.
Yeah.
That, like every couple of days has to be brushed off.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
we're been working with the committee. There were some thoughts that they didn't want a berm, and then we talked to Tony and the facilities guys, and they're like, it'd be nice if we just had a little
Yeah.
bit, just to
I
catch
agree.
anything, and if there is a storm event.
Right.
Most of the water's coming in this way, but this is raised up from over here, so we don't see this as getting too much water in here. So you get a hurricane, it's covered, so there's nothing you can do. I've done splash pads at Seaside Park in Bridgeport, Calf Pasture in Norwalk, that are right on the beach. I've talked to them, they don't have any real big issues. Of course, when Sandy hit, they had to scrape the whole thing off. They had much more elaborate, big things like this, but we're 5 foot tall. A little bit more of a pain to get those out when you're trying to get sand off of it, but that's why we went with this idea here. And we set it up so that you have a zone for the bigger kids with higher sprays, a little bit harder splashing, and then some of the smaller sprays for the little kids. And that separates them a bit, but everybody kind of follows the sprays. Yes?
So, actually, I have 3 questions.
Okay.
First one, I was thinking, because of the proximity to the sound, that this would be vulnerable for a storm surge. And we've had, the beach does get inundated with a very strong storm surge.
Sure.
So, to prevent any type of erosion or any type of damage to the facility, would there be like a berm that you would build on the beach?
Yep.
To keep the surge at least at bay?
Yep. And also plant it with beach grasses, so it becomes
Okay.
more of a dune. And that tends to protect these things from any of the storm surges.
Okay, question number 2, the material that you're using for the base of the splash pad is?
Concrete.
Concrete. Okay, so when you're kids going to the pool, don't run on the concrete, okay?
Right.
Okay, so is there a way is there another type of material that would be available that would be less risky for kids getting scuffed knees, scuffed elbows?
There is a product that's called Pebble Flex, which is a little bit of rubber.
Okay,
And every person I've talked to that has tried to use that, and these are users of it, not the people that are
Okay.
selling it, they said, do not put that in because you'll be replacing it every 2 years and it's expensive.
okay,
So we'll do a light broom finish. If kids do slip and fall, they may get a little bit of a cut, but it's not like heavy brush, so you're not going to get that big scrape. And kids tend to bounce pretty good.
Okay.
So,
They get caught walking in the ocean down there on the shells.
yeah, so.
Plan on having the rules signed too.
Yes.
There'll be a set of rules to make sure
Right.
that direct
Yeah,
people.
shower off before you go into it, so you get as much sand off as you can and things like that.
You could have a bubble wrap dispenser here for the kids.
Exactly.
Remind me, where is the shower in relation to this? It's right over there, isn't it? Right there, okay.
And then the last question I would have is that if you have these, you will have these sprays that are coming out of the ground, for closing up the splash pad at the end of the year, would you have like a cap that you would put on top of them to prevent people from, hate to use the word, vandalizing them by sticking stuff in there that doesn't belong?
They're pretty small holes in it. We can check with Vortex if they have any covers, but I have a feeling they'll just rip those covers off. They're smooth, flush, you're
Okay.
not gonna be able to pry them out, I'll tell you that. If they start messing with the nozzles themselves, that might be more of an issue, but I've done a lot in Bridgeport, and I haven't seen anybody wreck one of these things yet. And it's been over a decade of doing splash pads in Bridgeport.
Okay.
So,
You said you can drive a backhoe on it, you said?
yep. Yeah, this is gonna be 6-inch reinforced concrete, and then on the edge, especially on this edge, we'll put a little haunch on it, so it stays in place and it doesn't move anywhere.
I like it, I think it's great.
They're fun.
I also like the idea that most of it is sort of ground level, so that if you're sitting on the bench and nobody's really running around, doesn't block your view, it's
Right.
still
And we don't.
a nice view of the
We don't
water.
anticipate this berm being
So
much
high that
more
we
than
can- yeah.
2 feet with some beach grasses on it.
So I like this better than seeing a whole lot of metal things sort of
Yeah.
sticking up everywhere. I think it'd be
That
gorgeous.
was one of the feedback that we gave them. We wanted it to be natural, not crazy,
Yeah.
out of control, just a fun little place for people to go to. One of the elements by the rain garden there, where the tidal pool that they're talking about,
Yeah.
is, will have a little bit of water. It can be used by kids for, those kids that just want to
Yeah,
splash and sit and with their pail and, not get sprayed.
Right.
It's like a puddle.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know?
puddles are good.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the wood, natural wood elements, they're like stepping stones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
what I
in
like.
our
That's what they look like.
research, we found that the feedback we got was that was wonderful,
love
that
it.
the kids really liked it. And it's sort of natural,
Yeah.
it blends right in,
And it's
so.
in the sand, so you have that fall
Yes.
height stuff going. They're not that high, so if a kid falls off of it,
It's not gonna go far.
they're not going far.
As far as an on-off switch goes,
Yep.
I assume, Rick, it's going to be turned on at a certain time during the day and turned off?
There's a timer that, there's a central hub, which is a part of this drain here, that controls the entire splash pad. We'll be programming this with the committee, saying we want these elements on first, these on second, and they'll go through a sequence. And then we'll work with Rick and his crew and say, when do you want it on? Do you want it on at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 11, and what time do you want it off? And at the end, well, that'll run through, let's say, Memorial Day to Labor Day, which is
So let's say for some, whatever, you have to shut off in an emergency.
Oh, yeah, you could, yeah, there's control valves that you can,
But you wouldn't be able to do it remotely. In other words, so Rick would, let's say Rick's got to be shut down. No,
the technology is probably there with Vortex, the group
Yeah.
that we're talking to, so we can ask them about that.
I know irrigation we can control off-site, like
Yeah.
on a phone. There's a
I'm pretty
company
sure
that
that
has
they have that same
something like
thing.
yeah, so somebody wouldn't have to go down there.
Yeah.
So when you say you'd work with Rick to figure out what time it's on, so it's just gonna be running, or it's something where there's no one there and you
No,
push the
you-
start?
you gotta push the
Yeah,
button.
okay, yeah.
And you'll see that when you first get there, the kids know that that's the button.
Okay,
And
that's
they
the
will,
button.
they
instead
will
of-
continue to
okay.
hit that thing
Yeah.
thinking it's gonna keep on going.
But you-
it will not go until it
Goes to the
cycles
cycle.
all the way through, and then they hit it again.
Okay.
So you can hit it 30 times, and if it doesn't go through its sequence, it's only gonna go on once.
Right.
I think
Hit it
one
10
thing Tom
o'clock
was
at night,
saying,
it won't go on at all.
it'd be like a master clock, let's call it, where
Yeah.
we can set the time from 9 AM to
Yeah.
5 PM. They can put you at 10 o'clock at night all they want, and nothing's gonna happen.
That's what I
Exactly.
said, it's 10
Yeah.
o'clock at night, nobody's gonna turn it on.
Right.
Exactly.
During the day, obviously, if no one's pressing the button, it'll sit idle.
Yes,
And-
Yeah, and we
rainy days, we're good.
We
Yeah.
worked with Rick and kind of estimated what worst-case scenario would be for how much gallons of water if it's going constantly for 6 hours for that time period, which will never happen except for the first month. Because people will be
Because
there,
everybody wants
want to
to
do
charge.
it, so it's going to run pretty heavy that first month, and then, it's not new anymore, so they kind of mill it out, so.
Question on end of year,
Yep,
you're closing it down.
yep.
What is the procedure for making, for?
Same exact as your irrigation system.
Same thing, so you just
Blow it
blow the
out.
water, blow it out?
And that's it.
Okay.
Wouldn't the nozzle be covered at some point? Like, so water doesn't get in the winter?
They typically aren't.
I'm just kidding.
Because if it does go into the nozzles or into this drain, they're gonna leak out to these systems anyway. And then once you get to the valve where we're gonna pull it off of the shower, that's gonna be a locked down,
Yeah.
shut down, so nothing can get in there. And then electric is coming from one of the pavilions over to that control system.
So essentially you have water power coming in and then drainage going out?
Yes.
So the power would be, the power of the water would be shut off, blow it out, through the
Yep.
air, cap it off.
Yep.
And then any moisture that comes in through snow or rain or whatever during the wintertime would go through the
Existing drain.
the existing drains and then just go off to the
Yeah,
side.
and we'll look into the caps. I never had that question asked
Yeah,
before.
if water, I'm just thinking if you have, early winter or rain sits inside and then it freezes, is there an issue with
Yeah.
pipes and
Yeah, I don't think you're
drainage
gonna
that
get
freeze
enough
up? I don't-
water into those little holes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we never had it what irrigation has, and these are not dissimilar from that, I
Right,
wouldn't think.
they're just little pinholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judy asked about the benches around the splash pad. Those are benches that are going to be part of the project, and they will be consistent with what's already down there, so there won't be a different design, you know.
So you're planning on like part of fundraising,
Yes.
people buying the benches?
Yeah.
We had that one family, remember, we talked about doing the bench there?
Right.
They had requested a bench that in memory of a father of young children, and we thought that that would be good.
Yeah, I don't know if Rich,
Claire has all the information about how many benches we wanted to put down there, so she has all that information as
Yeah.
well, so she's on that.
yeah, and I don't know if Rick said this while I was trying to set up, but this has been community-driven from
Yeah.
day one. It's not Park and Rec saying, Tom, we want to do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and they're taking the bull by the horn saying, I'm going to raise the money for it, so. So all you out there that are listening, get some funding going for them. We're excited about the project.
The amount of time for construction?
Depends on how they do it. If it's, goes by GC, and they can start and just do the whole thing themselves, it'll be 4 months. If it's done by committee, it can drag on.
So when would you recommend the start of construction? In the summer, this fall?
It'd
this
be
spring?
wonderful if there was enough money that we were ready to get all the components and the drainage done, and we put it out to bid in a few months. So the contractors are hungry, and the price will be down low. If we do it in the middle of the summer when they're busy, prices go up, and that's just, everybody does that. So other elements such as the play equipment, the benches.
Can come later.
They can come later. But it'd be nice to do the whole package.
So you're essentially, the summer of 2021 is when would probably be the most likely target date for having this
Well,
start?
the committee's trying to get it for this year.
We're trying to be aggressive and get it so we can do it for 2020.
Yeah.
It all depends on our fundraising and if, we can raise enough money.
Yeah, we're
How
gonna-
much do we need to raise? Or do you, the committee, need to raise?
In order to do, as Tom suggested, with a general contractor, $150,000. If we can, and we can lower that price if we can get, for instance, in-kind donations, people who are experienced in plumbing and excavating and things like that, willing to donate their equipment.
Landscaping.
Yep.
Yeah, landscaping, things like that, will significantly lower.
Did you say 150 grand for the whole project?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty, wow, could be a lot more than that.
No, that's what we're shooting for. There's only a couple things that are a little unclear right now, which is the gallery system for the infiltration. We understand what the rain gardens are going to cost. We understand what the equipment's going to cost. We're doing takeoffs right now to figure out how much the entire thing's going to cost. But based on the equipment that we're putting in there, we're feeling pretty good about it. And that's based on 3 splash pads that we just did over the past year.
They also did a presentation to the Town Hall South staff, the town engineer, town planner, that whole group, and there was some feedback we got, and one of them was to do a perk test, which we did, 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
That's what Tom was describing earlier with,
Right.
the beach was better because the way the water's gonna perk down,
Yeah.
infiltrate. And so, from your perspective, what's the next step? I know we gotta do a public hearing, I think, at some point, but.
Yeah.
I think our next step is a public hearing.
Yeah.
We wanted to bring it to you and get feedback from you. We've had feedback from Town Hall South. Tom is addressing their concerns, which were minimal.
We specifically asked, are there non-starters here? Is there anything that you're going to see that you're just not going to approve? And nobody raised their hand, so I hope it stays that way. And I think the other first step is talk to the neighbors first, then do the public hearing, because then if they're on board, it's a lot smoother.
Like, ballpark, how much properties are you gonna take off, like, with, ballpark? How many feet across, how many, I'm just curious. I'm talking everything, the landscaping, the whole shebang.
Maybe 60 by 40 tops. I'm thinking it's skinnier than
I'm
that.
talking, the,
1 inch
with
by
the
5.
rain garden, whole shebang.
With the garden,
Everything.
Yeah, all this?
yeah.
The rain gardens are an existing area, there's already garden
Already
area, so it's not
garden there, yeah,
taking
so
anything
we're
from
not
the
taking
beach.
anything away from
It's
that.
a green area
The
that's already
splash pad
there.
itself is just 60 by 40.
Mhm.
Okay.
Might be a little bit.
All right, any other
We can get you
questions?
that information.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Nice job.
It's beautiful, really.
That's your board,
Okay.
or the committee's board to bring
Almost
around town.
fundraised.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and you need us for your public hearing and all that, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
You will. Any support you can give us, the better.
All right.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Then they come here, so she asked if there's any chance we could try to set a public hearing date, because they wanted to get this moving with fundraising and everything.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you if you want to try to do that.
Yeah, well, I think,
I think we want to go to the neighbors first. We want to
Yeah.
do that.
you're gonna go door to door
Yeah,
with the neighbors?
yeah,
Good
I think my, off the top of my head, is to do an invitation to the neighbors and then invite them to a meeting. Maybe I'll try the police station.
You have your meeting here.
Um,
We'll make room for you.
So that they can see what we're talking about, that it's really going to be a very invasive asset to the
Right.
town. It's going to serve a lot of people, and I think
Good job,
it'll be
man.
great.
Thank you. Sure.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
For allowing us to cut the line.
Oh, no problem. Veronica, thank you. You guys did a great job. Okay, let's get back to our agenda. Correspondence. We haven't gotten any this month. I think luck is with us. Approval of our December 2nd meeting. Minutes.
I make a motion that we approve December 2nd, 2019 minutes.
Second?
All right, do we have any additions, deletions, any questions, any comments? All in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Actually, you need to abstain.
I knew the extent.
The bills. Any questions or comments?
Just made a
on
note
the
of
bills?
one.
Yeah,
The, under fields maintenance,
tell me what page you're on.
3 of 4.
Page, okay.
Field maintenance, the green
Yep.
section. The
Yep.
Winterberry Group did an installation of a strong box. Just curious, like which field that was, or possibly,
That was.
so I see Bittner, Long Hill, Calvin Lee, Adams, for winterization, that's clearly.
Yeah, that was Cox, Upper Cox, we had
For
issue
like-
with the controller getting
Yeah,
vandalized.
oh, okay, yeah.
And so we purchased the box, and had to get put in up there, but it's a metal container. It's kind of like, I don't know if you, on the sod field at the high school?
Yeah.
The practical lacrosse field up there?
Yes.
Similar to that.
Oh, okay.
It's to house the irrigation controller, so we,
Yeah, obviously, we learned the hard way.
yeah.
Okay, nah, that's fine. I didn't know if it was I was thinking it wasn't a storage unit for something, but.
No,
okay, thank you.
well, so, yes, for the controller.
Controller.
Strong box, son, because you keep money in it.
Yeah.
Really
No, that's a
honest,
lot.
expensive.
Who has the key to that?
Okay, any other questions on the bills? No. All right, can we get a motion to approve the bills?
Motion to approve the bill.
Second? All in favor? Okay, department reports. Rick, any Questions, comments? December was a busy month.
What was the Elf on the Shelf program?
What was it, or how was it?
Yeah, what was it?
We've been doing it for a few years. It's, Ellen and the staff do that. That's, where they go out to different businesses, and there's like an elf that's hidden there somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a clue, it actually Connor wrote all the clues this year. There's a
Okay.
clue that goes up. It gives you a hint of what business may have the elf. And
Okay.
if people find it, when they come here, they get a card, and they get it stamped. And if they got 6 out of 10 of them or whatever stamped, then they'll go in a box, and all the ones who got that many, then you draw them out, and there's a prize.
That's
For
cool.
your top 3 maybe, I think, or 2 anyway.
I
But
thought
yeah,
you were
it's a-
like dressed up as the Elf on
No,
the Shelf
no,
or
no.
something.
Wow, good for you.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah. On my report, only I'll just point out 2 things, I guess. Number 8, we're still trying to pick the spot where the big belly solar trash compactors are gonna, we have it, it's arrived. We did get permission to put it on the southwest corner of the green, like down by Pages. We got approval to do that. But we're finding out the committee that did the fundraising, they really would like to put it on the sidewalk in front of the stores. So I met with. Yeah, we met there with Brian McGlone, and in fact, I ping noted him, emailed him today to find out, did he talk to some more of the store owners, and we got in the final location for that. So we're ready to put it out. We got to put it, we don't want to move it.
How big is this? How big is it?
Oh, they're pretty.
Not real big, they're about the size of a mailbox, like, like a post office mail, roughly about like that. But they're a couple hundred pounds. So once we put it, we don't really want to move it around, because you have to actually bolt it down anyway to the concrete. So we were just trying to get that final location. And I guess I could say this under the field committee, because we didn't have a meeting last month, but the new synthetic turf field is done, number 11. It's complete. The company came in last week. The contractor put the infill that we had to get in there to build it back up. The tests were done by KBA, our landscape architect, and it's totally, across the board, it meets the specification where it should be, so everything's good. That's done.
Has it been used yet?
Yes.
And our warranty
I
is
used
how many
What are you
years?
doing on it?
My
That's
kids
like 8 years, I think,
cross.
the warranty. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Anthony's report. Any questions or comments?
Yeah.
I'll just comment.
It's true,
one
they
of
are
the bullets
still
here.
able to work out.
Sod, we said 4,000 square feet of sod. We do that in front of the gold areas, at all the soccer fields, lacrosse fields. The only one we can never do is the south end of Bittner, because it's either too wet, it never gets any sun, by late fall or mid-fall even, that end of the field. It's either the ground gets frozen by early, mid-November, or it's too wet, we can't get on there. So that one we just ended up seeding, and if we have to, we'll put sod down in the early spring, because we don't usually open that field till May 1st. So one way or the other, either the seed will come up, or we'll sod it in the spring.
Rick, what do you do with the kayaks? Covered.
So what that is, that's people who never took them off the racks, and we find them. I mean, it's right in the contract. If they don't get them by whatever date, we give them 2 reminders. Let's say the date was November 15th, maybe the 20th, we send a reminder, they're still there, and we send another reminder, and then our guys just take them, and they have to pay to get them back. It's right in the agreement when they sign up, that it's not a storage for all year long.
You auction them off if they don't come back, or?
Well,
You can't hang on to it forever, right?
I know
don't
at least
have
one of them
storage.
did come back. One of them called and said, where's my kayak? Come in, bring your $75, and go get it down at the garage.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We give them plenty of opportunity. I mean, we go overboard to make sure they know about it, and have an opportunity to get it.
And we've already have the hay out for sledding at Baldwin.
Yes.
All we need now is the snow.
Now we need snow.
How about mud? We'll have plenty of mud for
Yeah,
Saturday.
well, mudslides.
We can go mudding down. Okay, Ellen's report.
Mount Southington ski trips start tomorrow. You see 123 kids. We've never, ever had to, it's 3 buses that we have. And we've got 6 teachers, I think, between Baldwin and Adams that are actually going to help chaperone this year, and that's great. We got some help that way. Yeah, Ellen put that, it's the highest amount ever. We've never had that many. Usually it's 2 buses. but tomorrow's the first trip.
One bus. I remember chaperoning, and it was only one bus.
Yeah.
My kids loved that. They really did. It was a great program.
It's good. It really is. And to have that many, I mean, we were at 90, and we were going to go with the waiting list for the senior bus to take the waiting list, but then that waiting list grew, so we had to go to a third bus, which is, that's great. I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Great. Okay. And seniors who are busy.
Yeah, you see our meal numbers are
I was
up
just saying,
quite
the
a
meal
bit.
numbers just for November went up over 100, and I mentioned December is gonna be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, more and more people are coming for lunch, which is great. 31st, if you're free, come for Family Feud.
Yeah. What a bit.
Tuxedo dress. So there's a lot going on. And our New Year's party was quite nice. Ashley said it was quite nice. Okay, and maintenance, if you have not done so, go downstairs and look at the new ceiling, because whatever's up there, it's looking fabulous. And it's sounding much better. You can hear it
You
already.
can see the difference.
Oh
already
my
here,
gosh,
yeah.
it's just great.
And peek in the exercise room on the way out, in the Lee room, the guys did a great job
On the
redoing those
floor.
floors. In the Lee room, I think it might be the first time we've done it in 26 years here, and what a difference.
No, it looked great. I
Yeah.
walked in when Todd was putting the lights back up and everything.
Yeah. Really, really nice.
Well, we'll
Take a look
dance
at
there
it
on
way
Wednesday.
out.
I'll check it out when I
Looks
come
great.
dancing.
Question, Rick. Under plumbing, the electric hand dryers could possibly help. I thought we approved that to.
Yeah,
to
we've already,
install-
Todd knows that, he's got to order them.
Okay.
We did, yes, we did do that.
All right.
Okay, commission reports, standing fields, you said you didn't meet.
Right.
No.
Okay, land acquisition, Green Committee, anything on the Green Committee?
No meeting in December.
Okay. Land acquisition, Claire isn't here. Community center improvements, well,
Ongoing.
You saw it?
ongoing, if you notice, the Ruth Alexander Lounge, we did a little redecorating, we moved some furniture, and it's looking a lot
Yeah.
neater and a lot nicer in there as well. We moved some furniture and stuff, so it's looking much nicer as well. So we're definitely getting there.
Yeah.
All we need now are the two carpets this room,
And no, because those are both in our budget.
they're both in the
Yeah.
budget, so those, the
Yeah.
last two carpets that need to be done.
This is the only one that's still
This has
original.
been here since the beginning, so
Yeah.
it is time.
Looks
You don't notice that they look on the edges of it.
that's true.
Yeah,
Right
no.
here's okay, but then you look over there, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
So that should happen this year, and then we should have everything pretty well
Yeah.
done.
Pretty well done in time to start back at the beginning.
Exactly. But it's ongoing. We'll keep it going. Okay, unfinished business, parking issues. I think we've sort of talked that now, so let's just wait and see what the selectmen do. Yes, we hear you. The ADA at Chaffinch and Quantapug, but the guys are,
Well, I'm hoping to meet, Tony wanted to meet there today, and today, I couldn't get there today. So we're gonna try to by the end of the week, and I know you folks wanted, I'll let you know when we're gonna go down, because he doesn't know where we're talking about putting
Okay.
it, Tony doesn't. So, if the weather stays like this, we could chip away at it. I mean, we can do it. You know, in spring, we can't.
no. Okay. The ceiling tiles, we'll go down, take a look. It's happening as we speak. Peddler's ordinance. Claire was looking into that, right? So we're gonna
Yeah.
have to put a hold on that. Regulations, ordinance for the parking lot. Have we heard anything back from the selectmen on that?
I have not.
All right, so we have to wait on that. The budget. Shall we go back to the budget and talk about the beach fees first? And then go back to the budget,
Fine.
that's okay?
That makes sense.
Because I think the beach fees is gonna be a quicker discussion. So, we met, Claire, Rick, Ellen, and I. And, we just wanted to make a few changes we thought might be helpful. especially when we looked at other towns. So we thought seasoned seniors for a season's pass would cost $10. It did cost $10. Thought we would keep it, and the same thing for the season pass for families and adults. The non-resident, we thought we would raise $5 from 20 to 25 for a season. And for a family, keep it at 70.
I don't know about seniors and that, so we should, that's my thought.
For daily fees, and these are people who are just coming for the day, senior resident would be 10, a senior non-resident would be 20, giving, of course, it breaks to the people who live in town. A resident family, 1 to 5 members, we would raise it to 20, and a non-resident, we would raise to 40. In the hopes that people would get seasons passes to make our life much easier. Rick included Clinton's fees and Madison fees just so we could have a comparison.
Rose,
Clinton only does daily.
just a quick question, I guess I have to clarify in my head. When you talk about a season resident beach pass, okay, that's per person, or is that per car?
Family would be, it would be per family or per person.
Per person. So myself and my wife, we would pay
A family.
a family,
Yes, Rick?
Yeah.
even though a family is more expensive than paying for 2 singles.
Well, you could do it that way. I mean, you could get 2 singles.
We get 2 seniors.
Yeah.
If you're seniors.
But the family would be up to 5 members, so for a family, with a larger family, it's.
Well, no, I'm not talking about a daily fee, I'm talking about a season
Right.
pass.
You mean because it says seniors and vets for the $10, but not just single adult?
Well, that's why I have to get it clear up in my head. Are we saying that
Basically, we're giving a discount to seniors.
okay, so a daily fee is $10
veterans.
or a season's pass is $10, so it's the exact same amount of money?
Right. And it has been that way. This is what we've done for seniors.
Okay.
That has not changed.
So if I'm a senior driving the car, and I got my 5 grandchildren
That
in
would
the
be
car,
a family.
so that'd be $10 too.
No, that would be 35.
We should tell him to duck. We'll put a blanket over him.
You can't put them in the truck, like the drive-in
Like
movie
at the
theater.
drive-in,
Yes.
I've been there and done that.
Back in the day.
Okay.
But like at a, yeah.
But it's
I
for,
mean, we're
Of
not,
other people.
it's per the car, not per person.
That's what
Is
I'm
it per
saying,
car?
Per car.
Per car, and that's
not
one
if we're
thing-
gonna collect money at the gate, it's not.
Well,
If we're gonna check fees at the gate, which
Yeah,
is
but
another
Jacobs-
change we wanna make.
Yeah.
Again, we may have to look at doing something, I don't know.
I'm just curious, so.
I mean, no matter what we do,
Yeah.
there's always a way around it, there's always a little something. I mean, we're just trying to be as consistent and fair as we could. There's always,
Are passes,
Something.
this is probably a question I should know, but are passes sold, can passes be bought at the beach?
yes.
yes.
Right, so if you pull in and say, well, I might be here 3 more times this summer, but I'm gonna just get the pass right now.
Yes.
So you're able to do that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we still doing cash or just credit, or doing credit cards?
Yeah.
The priority was
Encourage.
credit cards. We found that a lot of people didn't have a credit card with them, so we ended up doing a lot of cash.
But they did ask for credit
Yeah.
cards. I'm not,
And we
when I
had
was
the-
down
the
there with
phone
them, they
rate
do
could do,
ask, but if they don't have it, what can you do? We take the
Yeah.
cash.
But if they don't have the $35,
Well, then they can't come in.
you turn them away.
We turn them away.
So one change we had talked about, you and Claire and Ellen and I talked about this pretty extensively, I think. One change that I'm suggesting at Quantapug, and I think you and Claire agreed with this, is instead of checking them at the kiosk, we check them at the gate.
At the gate.
Because the problem that we saw, and it wasn't every weekend, it was probably 3 weekends, so maybe we're making a bigger issue than it is, but people were parking on the street and they were getting in free. And they're probably non-residents, and they weren't paying to be on the beach, and they were there all day. Or they got early into the parking lot before our gate guards got there, and they walked in without paying. And so it's not fair to people who do pay, and play by the rules. And so years ago, that's how we did it. You had to have the pass to get in the gate. It's not a parking fee; it's a fee to use the facility. We did it change it to the carway to make it consistent with Jacobs Beach. Jacobs, you're in your car, you show your pass and you get in. But I think Quantum Pogs, it's different. It's a different story, so I almost feel like we have to do it that way. There's not, within our own department, there's not unanimous agreement on that. But,
Well, to prevent an early bird from getting into the parking lot, can we construct a gate?
we did.
We did, it didn't work.
Yeah.
You mean the type of gate that we have at Nut Plains where it's a
Okay.
full closure?
One of the reasons the gate didn't work is people do come early, and if they get there before someone could open the gate, they are lined up down Route 77, causing
We should have,
traffic
but I don't have the
congestion.
police come along and give them a ticket.
I know, I just
I
feel
know.
like that's something that'll happen, and then if it's a problem and the police come, then it won't happen all summer. I mean, the police will come by.
Right. It's like you gotta
Yeah, I mean,
stop
that's-
the behavior at the beginning.
Exactly,
We were-
I agree with
We were
that.
told not to do, and we do not own the parking lot, do not forget that. The parking lot is run by the town, we were told we couldn't do it. For that reason, and
It's
I think
amazing
other
to me, because
reasons.
if I just go pick up my daughter at gymnastics outside
Yeah.
Nutmeg Twisters, they'll ticket us, like, if we
Right.
run in. So like, I'm not sure why they wouldn't on
These are-
77.
But
Probably because
beaches
it's a
that need
state
to be
road.
monitored.
Probably because it's a state road. Yeah.
But I agree with that, because I mean, I just remember growing up on Quantified, like, you had to show your pass
At the gate.
at the gate.
At the
Right.
gate.
Yeah.
So we do wanna
That's
go
what I
back
was
to
when I
that
first moved
there.
into town 35 years ago, it was the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly.
There was the gate there.
But it'll still be like for the family, so it's when,
Right.
not every individual will have to pay $35.
No,
You
no,
got
no.
5 kids with you,
Right.
or whatever. Well, people stretch it probably, but you gotta make some assumptions, okay, they're with Suzanne, so they're coming in on her pass with her. It's not gonna be 20 people, but,
I mean, if you
I mean, it's
have
up to the,
five Carlos show
it's
up
up to the
with
commission to
30
decide
kids,
how
and
you want us to do that.
Family.
And, we don't have to make that decision tonight, but I think the main thing is,
Well, we
you
should
know-
have some sense of it, because we are presenting a budget.
Honestly, the whole, I kind of agree with you about we were talking about the seniors, I think it's gonna be an argument, if the seniors bring their grandchildren, to the beach, they'll, I don't.
So wait, you said about a carload. So like, again,
I thought it was per person, so.
so if I come again, so if I come, I'm a senior, I got my 5 grandchildren in the car, am I paying $10 or $35?
Or what if you have a $10 pass?
you have a $10
All
pass,
right.
the pass gets you into the beach.
But have it all-
With the 5 grandchildren?
That's how we've done it.
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's what
same
we
thing.
should
So
do.
Yeah.
I
If
think
you go
that's-
there
Yeah.
without a pass, same scenario, it's still $10. It's not $35.
Right, but it'd be $10 each time you go, but if it
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
more
yeah,
sense for
okay,
someone to
all
have
right.
a season
So it's by the
pass.
carload.
And I think that's why we
We're
talked
trying
about
to
going up on the
encourage
daily
passes,
fees
bike
somewhat,
passes.
Yeah, I mean,
to
it-
encourage people to get a season pass.
Yeah.
So we're not
Do you know what,
collecting
though,
all
we
the
have
money.
discounted rates for seniors.
Right.
Purposely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
purposely, because they don't have the income that, that people do,
And
so
we
I
all
think
places
if,
do that. They all charge by the carload, right? I know.
yeah. So I think we should just stick with, if seniors bring in their grandchildren, they still have the senior.
Mhm.
What is the definition of a senior in our book?
55 and older.
55 and older?
I just need.
So
I
the
make a mo-
AARP.
I make a motion that we
Okay.
approve
Look
this.
at that. Totally, I think. I'm not coming here saying I'm a senior, sorry, but it's just not
All right,
happening.
whoa.
Judy's at the $5 rate.
Lawrence just made a motion that we
I
approve.
said I'm way past 55 plus. I should get a bargain and get in free.
Lawrence made a motion that we accept these fees. Will someone second that motion?
I shall second it.
All right, is there any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Majority. At least we can start, advertising and figure out. All right.
Spring booklet.
Okay, before we get to the budget, let me hand these out. These are our meeting dates for the year. One for Claire. Okay.
You know where we are.
Just in case you forget, right? We're all good.
Oh, then you do need to. No, she says she has to. Kathleen.
Kathy has it, she did it for us. And thank you very much. Okay, budget. So, we can't go line item by line item, Rick.
No.
So, a nice overview.
Let me just highlight a couple of things.
Please,
Rose?
just highlight
You're
it.
asking for it.
So if you look on page 3, I kind of highlighted certain things in there, where there are some increases and why. The biggest one is, and Rose and Claire and I met, and we talked about these things, is additional hours for receptionist. And Rose, I did go back, I talked to Mitch some, and we pulled back and we suggested 2 part-time ones rather than full-time, with the benefits and everything, but I think it would have been hard to get that through. But the justification, well, let me step back. We had 2 receptionists up until about 2 or 3 years ago. And they split the hours. It was covered about 36 hours. We're open 40, probably 45 hours a week, really, from 8 to 5 or 7:30, whatever. 40 hours technically, 40 hours, I guess. And so, but our receptionist is only 19 and a half hours. And so we've had other staff cover it, when our receptionist isn't there. But the problem is, the biggest driver of this is the senior programs. They're just almost jumping exponentially. The number of you just saw the meal report Terry did. In 1 month alone, there's 200, 150, 200 more meals in 1 month. That's phone calls, people calling in to sign up, and the bus trips are way up, 22%. I think I put in here, the number of passengers, trips are up by 25%. SIL has doubled in the last 2 years. Granted, SIL is more seasonal, but it's all, only season that we don't have is, I think, summer. No, I'm sorry, we don't have winter. Winter's when we don't have it. But that's doubled. I mean, so the amount of use of the building, that's phone calls, is people coming in. And Terry is very big on, when there's a trip, she calls every member of the trip to make sure they're going to show up. And it takes time, and she or someone does it, because she doesn't want to get there, they're waiting in the bus, and 20 minutes later, somebody's still not there, and then they finally get a hold and say, oh, I decided I'm not going. I wish we knew that. We could have gone 20 minutes ago. Now the trip's late. So it's just additional everything. Again, it's mostly senior-driven. Most of the increases we're seeing is there, although the recreation, I hate to call it recreation side, but I mean, you just see the reports that Ellen does. Our recreation programs are also exploding. It's just, so the point I'm making here is that
And
up until...
along with that, though, a lot of these people who are registering for SILs and for the senior programs do not do it on the computer.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of the younger adults get it done on the computer, but
Yeah.
some of us, other people come in with pen in hand
Yeah.
and fill out the forms at the front desk. So it does create
Right.
a backlog of people. You
Yeah.
come here sometimes, and there's 4 or 5 people lined up at the front desk, so.
Yeah. And I know just one day, a couple of weeks ago, Terry alone, I even asked everybody, Terry told me she alone answered 20 phone calls, and she's a senior coordinator. There's just not enough help to do it. And so, anyway, that's the biggest driver of it. But even with all that, and the other big, the other increases are in overtime, because we do pay for 2 of our guys to help plow the roads. That comes out of our budget, not Public Works, and it kind of always have. But we have an additional guy we're giving them this year because they need it, and so.
How long has that been for?
Probably precedes me. It's been as long as I
How has
can
that ever
imagine.
been approved?
It might have gotten
That's
more
amazing.
recently because they used to contract it out, and they have trouble getting contractors now, so they rely more on our guys helping them out. Usually it's Tony and Scott that go do it.
They should be,
That's,
they should be paying for it.
yeah.
Well, maybe this commission and their commission to talk about it, but it's kind of been,
We ever figured
Our
out
guys
that-
belong to one union, Public Works belong to a different union. They
Yeah.
belong to Teamsters Union. It's very hard to,
Yeah, but I can imagine
it's all coming out of the town budget, let's be
Yeah.
real
It's all,
here.
yeah, but it should, I mean, it,
What's the price for, I mean, I'd love to just see what the cost is
yeah.
for us.
And I would
Here.
think it would be something we should be reimbursed by Public Works for.
Yeah.
part of the trade-off is that they buy the sand and salt that we use, they maintain all of our stuff, so, I mean, it's all one pot,
It's all
really.
one pot.
Whether it's in their budget or ours, I mean, we're all working
So when they turn around
together.
now and say they cut other things because that cost might affect something else. That's, that has to be known from everyone, not just us saying that, but,
Right.
yeah.
The other increases are in the field account, parks, and that is all generated by the trailer that we rent, the office trailer. Last year was only half a year. It's a whole year now, so that went up by about $5,000 or $6,000, and that's totally, all that increases that. In field maintenance, the increases there are,
Let's go back to that. Have we found out what would happen if we purchased?
well, I think we're getting to a point, especially what Gary just said, that we may have to think about doing that. So
I think,
It was a
before we go and
two-year
present this
rental.
budget, we should have some information on it.
Yeah.
If you could find that out before we present
Well, this will be the second year, but after the next year,
Let's find out what it would cost us
to buy it.
to purchase it. Yeah.
Because
we
it
can
sounds
remember
like
to
we
do
could be
that.
3, 4, 5 years out before anything happens. And, in hindsight, it might have been good to buy it, but I think the direction we got from beyond us was to rent it for 2 years, and that's what we did. But that's the cost driver on that. And then field maintenance, the increase is there, it's about $6,000. Mostly that's fertilizer and seed. That's page 12. Sorry, page 12.
I'm sorry, what were you talking about renting? I missed that, was it?
So that's page 11.
And what was it?
It's the
The
office
trailer
trailer.
for the,
Oh, the trailer,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
for the guys, down
All
there.
right.
Down at the, yeah.
Okay.
on Drive Road.
The parks guys, yeah.
Because it's going to take longer than we had anticipated. At one time, we thought we would get this done quicker, and it's not gonna happen.
And really, the majority of that increase is that. And then on page 12, the grounds, fields,
Yeah,
it's grass seed and fertilizer is really what the drivers are on that increase. And part of that is because we're trying to do, switch over a little more to organic fertilizer, it's kind of the push that people want, but it costs a lot more. And so, we're not 100% changing over, but we're working it in. So that's pretty much the drivers there, fertilizer and seed cost. And again, we're also using a different type of seed. You've seen Upper Cox, how Cox North came out, I mean, that field came out really good. We put a different seed that just works better than what we were using before, and we're seeing the difference. So sometimes it makes sense to spend a little more money, because you can better maintain the fields, and they come out better. And other than that, everything's pretty much either gone down or level.
Can I just ask a silly question?
No,
Because that's what we're supposed to do here, I guess.
Tell us what page you're on.
On page 11, the cost of the doggy pot bags, what on earth am I missing there?
The ones that we put out at all the parks for people to use.
The cost, that's my,
It's the same, we didn't increase it. The middle column is this current year's budget. The column on the right is the one we're proposing, so there's no increase there. It's the same thing.
are we finding people are using them, or people?
Oh, yeah.
I know I bring my own if I walk my dog somewhere.
Yeah, our
but
guys are
others-
refilling them
Okay.
frequently. Yeah, I think they use it for lunch bags.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, what are we using them for?
Taking them to Big Y right now.
Mine is the poop.
Yeah, and the whole plastic thing is coming into play.
All set, Diane? I have a question.
Thank you.
Okay. Revenue,
Page?
page 5 and 6. We went through that process within the past year with regard to the field rental fees. I don't see any revenue generated here by any of the field rental fees.
Because that doesn't go in there. It goes into an account, in the program account, that we use if we need to, like, rebuild an infield or whatever.
Okay.
There's an account within the program account for that, and that's where it goes.
Okay.
We're trying to keep it separate so that the money that we get from the fields goes back into the
Right.
fields.
Okay.
Some of the Adams irrigation, a chunk of that came out of that when we put the irrigation in over there.
Well, I was just thinking that all that work we did on,
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
there's zero revenue? Come on.
Right.
And miscellaneous revenue is down because we can't charge,
Just to keep things a little bit cleaner, we were
That's
trying
fine.
to do that.
That's fine.
the miscellaneous revenue on the same page 5, you see that's down from 2,000 to 800. Because that was when we used to have the ice cream vendor, we can't do that anymore. The new rules, we can't charge for vendors to sell at Jacobs Beach
Lemonade
anymore.
guy's coming back, right?
I hope so, even good.
Great
I don't think we
lemonade.
can charge them based on the new policy. So the 800 is when people rent the showmobile. That's what that is. Like St. George Church rents it, Rotary for Lobster Fest. bishops.
Take the bill?
Yeah. those kinds of things. So our revenue might go up based on what we just decided today, but we have to submit something, it's went in, so we may actually do better, because if we go up on the fees and the beach passes, that number could go up even more than what we estimated in there.
So overall, you said that the increase was 1.9%?
Yeah, that does not include salaries, because those are all in negotiation now,
Salaries are different.
so that does not include that. So salaries are pretty much the same as, in here as what they currently are.
1.9, okay.
Yeah,
The town will take care of the salary.
yeah.
And I guess the proverbial question is, of course, we have what is it? I'm sorry, I marked it off here, the weight room. Okay, I total up to about almost $24,000 worth of expenses and zero revenue. So,
Again, that's like the comment made, which bothered me at one point, was that it's gonna get absorbed somewhere. That's just bothersome to me.
Well, I
Someone made
mean,
a comment that like, whether we have it or we don't,
it's gonna end up on somebody's budget, but
It's
it's,
gonna end up on someone's budget. When they
That's a
park-
significant
but they
amount of
parked
money.
it with
back-
us.
When they take it back, the Board of
they
Health
just lower your,
When they take it back.
But the only question I have, Rosa, is I thought we went through the statute of limitations with this. It was supposed to be
yeah.
3 years, and now we're entering our fourth. And promises have not been kept from the
I
other
don't think
departments.
we should shoulder shrug it anymore. I'm tired of sitting here and that's the,
Well, what would you,
I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, but there's nothing we can do. We can't go and demand they take it back.
Well,
What
have
do
you
want us to
questioned
do?
them at all?
I believe we have.
We're not, the onus on us isn't for maintenance or upkeep
No.
or anything
No.
like that, it's just to pay the
Facilities.
bills.
It's just to
Yeah.
pay the bill.
Say the operating expenses.
And they're giving us the money to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So actually, I'm glad because I forgot to mention this. Ellen just
Okay.
spoke with someone today. We may start a program there on Saturdays, which we've never done any program in there, ever. There's somebody that spoke with her today that has all the certifications for weight training and stuff, so we're thinking of doing a 7th grade and up strength and conditioning training program for like a 6-week program, try as a pilot in the winter. So it'll be the first time we've actually run a program in there. And
That would
just
be
today,
great.
she's brought it to me today,
That would be awesome.
yeah.
All right, any other comments on the budget?
Well done, Rick.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well
that's
done.
fair.
Bravo.
Thank you. Do we need a motion to approve it? No. Okay. All right, any other business? We are presenting this to the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, it's January 22nd.
January
at
22nd,
9
if
o'clock.
anybody feels like they want to come at 9 o'clock.
Folks, 8 a.m.
Yeah,
and
right.
8 a.m.
9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Oh, 9 a.m.?
All right.
Selectmen sets this, not us.
I'll talk to that.
All right, motion to adjourn.
I can make a motion to adjourn.
5 seconds.
All in favor?
Yeah.
We all,
Did a great job.
I noticed on,
You're great.